Hi, I'd like to discuss with you the midterm evaluation of MELS 605. 10 students out of sections O and O2 responded to this formative assessment. Okay, so the first questions asked primarily about course organization, and you can see here at a glance that in general, the responses were quite strong. These orange here are neutral students. We have a couple of outliers right here in terms of the required assignments and discussions contribute to my learning. One student strongly disagreed, and then here, objectives learning outcomes for each part of the course are clear. So I'd like to just talk about that for just a moment. Each week when I do your videos for the week, I try to talk about what the objective of the content for the week is. So I hope you're tuning into those videos to get a little bit more of a sense of what it is that the content is focused on for that week. You can also review the objectives for the course in the course syllabus. I'm going to just pull that in right here. And the objectives are in the course syllabus here. There are 17 objectives for the course, and I hope that you can determine alignment each week when I talk about what it is that you're focusing on that week and the ways in which the assignments for the course, of course, include the work that you've done on artifacts 5 and 6, but also include the work that you're doing each week to respond on the discussion board. Each module is aligned to the 6 standards for North Carolina executive leaders. But I will definitely talk to Dr. Uri, who wrote the syllabus, to talk about working towards greater alignment to see how objectives and learning outcomes align. I will say that this outlier in terms of the required assignments measuring attainment of learning outcomes surprised me, because my reading of the discussion boards very much demonstrates to me an alignment with the objectives for that week and quite a bit of learning as I read through your responses and reflections. I've been very impressed with your work on the discussion boards. And so I was surprised by this outlier. One of the things that I did in analyzing the data then was to look at individual survey submissions so that I could see what kind of qualitative feedback the student, and it is the same student who said disagree here and strongly disagree here. It is the same student. I was able to determine that. And this student also provided no suggestions for improvement. So it's hard for me to know exactly what to do with those responses if I don't understand why they put those responses. So that's part of the reason why in a survey you want to obtain some qualitative feedback as well as quantitative feedback, and why you also have to be hesitant about how to interpret that feedback exactly. So aside from these neutral responses and these outliers from one student, the remaining responses are positive and the course is viewed favorably by respondents, but the response rate was not as high as I would have liked. I gave a week to complete the survey, and there will be another opportunity to provide feedback on the course at the end of the course, as well as a survey that will be sent to all students graduating from the program to provide feedback on the program. And so I hope that you'll provide feedback at those points as well. Okay, I intentionally asked an open-ended qualitative question here. And for those of you who have taken my midterm evaluations of the course before, you know that this is a new question, and it's new specifically because this was my first time trying to facilitate more online group work. And so I'm trying to get some feedback on how has it gone and how could this process be improved. I will post this PDF file so you can read through everybody's responses yourself. But in general, the group work has been a stressful and difficult thing for individuals, especially individuals who are partnered or grouped with people who work differently than they do. Many of these responses don't really surprise me, because anytime you have a new change or reform, as you've been learning all along, it has its share of difficulties as we try to work through implementation issues. In reading through these comments, here are some of the takeaways for me as a leader for the course. Number one, moving forward, I will reduce the instances of group work to allow for more time for organization of groups. So for group work assignments, I'll give a couple of weeks to complete. I will also just reduce the instances of them in the second half of the semester. And in future iterations of the course, I'll space the group work out, so that you have more time to do it. Connected to that is a second takeaway of providing group assignments ahead of time to allow for time for coordination and communication among groups. A couple of people talked about wanting that kind of a lead time. A third piece that came out of these comments was that some of the groups worked better when someone designated themselves as a leader for the group. And so I think part of what I might change in the future is to assign a group leader so that people know who's in charge of running the group. And I believe I'll also allow groups to work together for more than one activity to build rapport and maybe just change the leadership. I switched the groups intentionally this time because I was worried that if you got in a group with one or more group members that weren't participating the way that you hoped, that would be frustrating to have to feel like you had to work with them again and again and again. I will do some specific encouraging for groups to begin work early and provide more information on the Blackboard tools for group work and how they function. A few people said that the tools were difficult. I've played around with those tools, but haven't gotten specific training on those tools. And so I'll ask our educational technology specialist to give me some more training so that I can incorporate that training into my courses. Okay. This next qualitative question was for me as an online course designer and builder. I just want to know how it's feeling as users. Are you finding things where you expect them to be, and is it making sense to you? And it sounds like the videos that I've incorporated this semester, I've always done videos, but I've done them with more frequency this semester for each week, which is great. It sounds like the course itself is organized well, but that you are beginning to have some feedback, or you've had some feedback about the program as a whole, and that's great. We really need that kind of feedback. I am curious about this. Let's see, there's a comment Here, comment number 2, the student said they have one piece from an artifact that's never been assigned from a course. I'm curious about which artifact component hasn't been touched, because all components are covered in the suggested timeline in the handbook. So if a course isn't addressing them, we need to know which component it is so we can review the syllabus and make sure that that assignment is a part of the course. This comment here talks about spreading the work out, feeling like the course is front-loaded. And you are correct. The assignments for the course, specifically, I think it's 6E and 5F. It might be 6F and, or it might be 5F and 6E. I can't remember right now, but that front loading is intentional, if that's what you're talking about in terms of the assignments, because those are assignments you have to submit to TaskStream. So I knew at the beginning of the semester that your work needed to be submitted to TaskStream on or around April 1st, the beginning of April. In fact, Dr. Shellman has sent you an email saying everything needs to be up by April 1st. So knowing that you had to have things submitted by the beginning of April, I wanted you to have them submitted to me early so you'd have time to complete the formative assessment process so that I could give you feedback as your instructor, and then you could revise and resubmit and get additional feedback before you put them on TaskStream to request comments for review, so that you could then submit for evaluation by April 1st. So I did that on purpose. Now, the student here talking, their timeline is off, I think. If they're talking about middle of April to have things completed, that's not correct. It's April 1st. There is time in April for cleanup and review of artifacts, and that's why the course is front-loaded. There will be activities and discussion on Blackboard for the course, but I wanted to allow you time in the second half of the semester to address revisions of other artifacts without worrying about whether artifacts 5 and 6, the ones for this course, were ready. I think I'm understanding your comment in giving that response. I hope I'm understanding your comment. Of course, also, you'll notice in the assignment calendar, I tried to get you to finish up with your other artifacts and get them onto TaskStream early so that you would have time for the review process and revisions, so that you were ready for evaluation by April. But I assure you that this course is planned for a 15-week semester, and it will take all 15 weeks to complete the work for the course, which is more than just completing the artifacts. Finally, this person says that consider that you have full-time jobs and that you have personal lives and families. I want to assure you all that I'm aware that you have full lives outside of the course, as individuals have contacted me about specific concerns that have happened throughout the semester in terms of their personal lives. I hope you've all found me accommodating and flexible. If you feel like you're doing enough work for 2 graduate classes instead of 1, that's good, because remember, this is a 6-hour course. It's essentially 2 classes were combined into 1 module, and you're working in a program that is compressed for you to earn a master's degree in 5 semesters. I agree, it is a lot of work every week. And I hope you're all feeling excited about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so in terms of instructor course effectiveness, ratings are consistently high among respondents. A couple of average ratings, but nothing negative about the instructor or the course. In terms of participation in the class, all students feel like they invest enough time and energy in the course to meet the requirements, and all students participate actively and contribute to class discussion threads. And there has been a great deal of participation in the class. I'm really pleased when I read the discussion boards each week. This information is interesting in terms of how many average hours people spend on the course per week, how many times a week people on the average log into the class, how many total online courses people are taking this semester, and how many they've taken including this semester. And you can see individual responses that got this average of 7. And you can see for the most part people put 5 or 6, but then we have 3 people who spend 10 hours a week on the course. And then, hi sweetheart, my daughter is waking up, and so you may hear her talk. And then you can see individual responses here and throughout. Again, this PDF document will be posted. And then the final question, what could be done to improve this course?
Mom?
Yes, hold on just a second. I'll let you do that. Here you go. Is primarily the group work. And as I've said, I will change the way the group work is done moving forward this semester, and we'll definitely be able to do some reorganization of it for future courses. As you think of more ideas for how the group work might work better, especially from the user standpoint, I'd love to know it. And then finally, there are some people that want some feedback given to people who are working on TaskStream, and I will do that as well. Okay, thank you for your responses, and I look forward to continuing our work together.